I used to do something most traders would call insane. Every Sunday, I'd fund a small account with 500 pounds. And by Friday, I'd blow it. On purpose. I wasn't gambling. I wasn't trying to get lucky. I was practicing something else. Something no trading course ever taught me. I was practicing how to lose. Not because I enjoyed pain, but because I had finally learned the truth. That my real problem wasn't bad entries or wrong direction. It was how I reacted when things didn't go my way. The panic, the regret, the shame that would spiral into revenge trades and blown months. So I flipped the script. Instead of avoiding losses, I studied them. I made losing the lesson. And week after week, I stopped trembling when I saw red. I stopped rushing to fix the pain. I stopped fearing the very thing that used to control me. And that's when everything changed. Because the best traders I've met, they're not the ones who win the most. They're the ones who lose better than everyone else. At first, the idea sounded ridiculous. Why would anyone deliberately lose money? But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. Because every time I lost unexpectedly, I spiraled. One loss turned into 3, then into 5. And by the end of the week, I wasn't trading a system anymore. I was trading pain. And pain is expensive. So I decided to flip the experience. If loss was inevitable, why not train for it? Like an athlete trains for exhaustion. Like a pilot trains for engine failure. Why don't traders train for losing? So I started what I called loss therapy. Every week, I'd take high-risk trades on purpose. Not to win, but to watch how my body reacted. As I watched a trade go red, would my heart race? Would I click out early? Would I try to fix it with a bigger order? And slowly, something started to shift. My nervous system stopped overreacting. I stopped feeling like a loser every time I saw a red number. I stopped needing the market to validate me. It wasn't about making money. It was about building tolerance. Call it emotional conditioning. Because most traders are obsessed with how to win more. But the ones who last, they practice how to lose better. They know that losing is part of the job. And the better you get at doing it well, without panic, without story, without shame, the more consistent you become. Loss doesn't shake them. It sharpens them. And that kind of trader, the one who shows up calm after 5 losses, is far more dangerous than the one who just won 3 in a row. So if you've been running from losses, trying to avoid them, trying to outsmart them, maybe it's time to stop fighting. Maybe it's time to train for it. Because losing is not the enemy, but your reaction to it might be. And that brings us to the next question. What does it actually take to become someone who can face pain and still execute like a pro? Let's talk about that. I once asked a Navy SEAL how they stayed calm in the middle of gunfire, chaos, and uncertainty. He smiled and said, "We don't train to win. We train to suffer well." That line stuck with me because in trading, most of us spend all our time trying to win well. We obsess over entries, strategies, indicators, as if avoiding pain is the path to mastery. But real professionals, the ones who last, they prepare for the pain itself. They train for discomfort. They build capacity for chaos. They don't run from pressure. They build muscle inside it. And that's exactly what separates elite traders from the average. The best ones don't just have setups. They have systems for when everything goes wrong. They don't collapse after a losing streak. They don't chase. They don't freeze. Because they've been there. They've trained for it. They know what it feels like to lose 10 trades in a row and still show up for trade number 11 with presence and clarity. To them, that's not just discipline. That's readiness. They simulate worst-case scenarios. They review drawdowns. They practice decision-making under stress. Not just when the market is trending, but when it's whipping, stalling, frustrating. They don't just study how to execute. They study how to not break. And that's what it means to become a professional loser. Not someone who gives up. Not someone who expects to fail. But someone who builds so much emotional resilience That failure no longer derails them. They're like martial artists in a fight. Calm, precise, not because they never get hit, but because they've been hit 1,000 times in training and learn how to move through it. So if you want to trade like a pro, don't just study wins, study failure. Practice what you'll do when things fall apart, because that's not weakness, that's preparation. And when you prepare for loss, not as a flaw in your system, but as fuel for your growth, you unlock the calm that most traders spend their whole careers chasing. Now let's bring it home, because this isn't just about performance, it's about identity. So here's the truth most traders never hear. Winning is not what makes you great. It's what you do when you lose. That reveals who you really are. Anyone can trade well on a green day, but the ones who become exceptional, the ones who last, they learn how to lose with grace, with presence, with no need to rush the pain away. They don't run. They don't numb. They don't perform. They absorb. They study. They grow. That's the real work. Because the market doesn't just test your strategy. It tests your nervous system. It tests your ego. And most of all, it tests your identity. So let me ask you, can you lose without losing yourself? Can you take a red day and turn it into wisdom instead of self-destruction? If you're ready to start training for that, for real emotional strength, then this channel is for you. Hit subscribe. And in the comments, tell me, what's the hardest part for you about losing? Let's build a space where losing is not shameful, but powerful, because the best loser really does win.